reapply for a continuance yearly. And at that point, I think it's in our ordinance that we will annually come out and inspect, because we have to keep an eye on, make sure that it is 6 or less hens.
Any of the board members got a question? I think all this has been rehashed 3 or 4 times and what have you, and probably rehashed too much. But what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if there's anyone in the audience who lives next to someone who has permitted chickens.
I don't think that has anything to do with
I
this
thought
here.
they could give us the benefit of their experience.
Wouldn't be the same situation.
It's not the same situation at all here. All the other places, spaces and the like that have been granted permits have larger areas, and it's not been this confined. I think this is the point here, is the confinement part. Do I have a motion to approve or disapprove?
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to say that I feel that the City Council in their wisdom has chosen to allow people this privilege of applying for a permit to keep chickens, although we don't require that for any other kind of animals that people keep in the city, like dogs. There could be 6 rottweilers in that yard without asking anybody's permission. And I feel that I've had experience with chickens. I've raised chickens myself, and I feel 6 chickens in the space described will be fine.
George, excuse me, did you have any trouble with rats or mice or roaches, bugs,
Absolutely
or anything
none.
like that, like particularly in the hot summertime?
Ma'am.
What did you do to not have that problem?
I took good care of my chickens. I, applied the proper measures, and
How did you get rid of your waste? What did you do with
I had a 55-acre farm, so it was no problem.
Any other discussion? All in favor of this motion, Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Oberst,
Aye.
Mr. Dollins,
No.
Ms. Drake,
No.
Mr. Dean, no.
Could we have a reason offered for the no vote?
No, Mr. Oberst, each person has a right to voice his opinion, and there's on any vote that he does. I don't question you on any vote that you vote on. I don't question him. I don't question him.
I feel that a person applying, if they are turned down,
They've got other places to go other than the board.
they need to understand, as does the rest of the public, what are the reasons why a person would be turned down, so another person wanting to apply would understand whether they would be considered in compliance.
That is not the reason here, Mr. Oberst.
I request for y'all to give me a finding of fact.
Well, neither do we have to give you a fact.
Why not?
Cause
Because, because there are no facts, right?
there is facts.
What are those facts and why can't I have them?
You have an alternative to go to the circuit court to seek their approval.
Can I address? If she's
I mean-
going to the circuit court, she needs findings of fact.
She can still go to the circuit court.
Do you have a copy of the chicken ordinance? Could it be read out so we can understand what this is my first time at a hearing. I've read it when it came out and it was approved. But can we have it read so that we could possibly see what, they said that it was big enough and that she had the right space, and I would like to hear the wording.
Go ahead. Got it?
An ordinance of the City of Berea, Kentucky, amending the Land Management and Development Ordinance as amended by adding a provision pertaining to conditional use permits, providing that the harboring or maintenance of chickens in residential zone classifications shall be permitted as a conditional use and subject to certain conditions and limitations. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Berea, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, that the Land Management and Development Ordinance of the City of Berea, Kentucky be amended by adding Section 403.9, which section shall read as follows. Special conditional use rules for chickens in residential areas. A, for purposes of this, the following definitions shall apply. Chicken, a common gallinaceous farm bird, raised for its edible eggs or flesh. Containment facility, a coop, fence, or other permanent or movable structure intended to confine chickens within such structure and prevent such chickens from roaming freely. Part B, notwithstanding any other provisions in the Code of Ordinance of the City of Berea, including but not limited to Chapter 51 of the Code of Ordinance relating to animals, the harboring or maintaining of no more than 6 female chickens on property which has a zoning classification of R1, R1A, R1T, R2, or R3, and further which does not meet the definition of a pasture area as set out in Section 51 of the Code of Ordinance, is a permitted conditional use in such zoning classification, subject to the following conditions and provisions. 1, no rooster or male chicken shall be permitted. Got it. 2, all chickens conditionally permitted pursuant to this provision shall be contained and completely confined within a containment facility located no less than 50 feet from a residential structure other than that of the permittee, provided, however, that this requirement may be reduced by action of the Board of Adjustment in the event of written consent of all adjacent property owners or occupiers. That is to say, you can have chickens closer to your neighbors' houses if they say it's okay. That's the only place in here that I know of where it's asked for the neighbor's opinion. Number 3, processing or slaughtering chickens on permitted property is prohibited. Part C, any person desiring to harbor, keep, or maintain chickens on residential property pursuant to the provisions of this section shall apply for a conditional use permit pursuant to Section 403 of the Land Management and Development Ordinance of the City of Berea. The Berea Board of Adjustments shall hold 2 meetings annually in January and August where an applicant for a conditional use under this section may seek a conditional use permit for chickens in a residential area for the fee of $35. And otherwise, normal conditional use fees will apply to any such application. The application form shall be provided by the Office of Code Enforcement, which application form shall at a minimum include name, address, and telephone number, names, addresses, and contact information for all adjacent property owners, a certification that the property for which the permit is sought is not subject to any restrictive covenants or subdivision restrictions, the number of chickens to be harbored, kept, or maintained needs to be in there, a specific acknowledgement by the applicant of the conditions of this section and agreement to comply with same. Part D, in the event that a conditional use permit is issued under this Section 403.9, the Office of Code Enforcement may inspect any conditionally permitted premises for compliance with the terms and provisions of this chapter and any other code provisions upon reasonable suspicion that any code violations are occurring. Upon such inspection, the Office of Code Enforcement shall issue a written report which shall describe the circumstances of the inspection and shall determine whether the permitted premises are in compliance with the provisions of applicable law and ordinances. In the event that the Office of Code Enforcement shall find that the premises are in violation of any law, code, or ordinance provision, the permittee shall be given written notice by certified mail to remedy the noncompliance within 30 days from the date of the inspection, and upon failure to do so, the permit shall be revoked in writing by the Office of Code Enforcement. In addition, the Office of Code Enforcement may proceed with the formal code violation process. Part E, the provisions of this section shall apply only to the areas with the residential zoning classifications set out above. This section shall be subject to all existing or subsequently established restrictive covenants or subdivision restrictions applying to the property and shall not be interpreted to override same. Section 2, that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are repealed. This ordinance shall be published according to law. Those are the stipulations of the ordinance, and I don't understand what has been violated among those stipulations that would cause